So if someone wants to take an animal out of Portugal to another country, to the UK for example, are there certain procedures they have to follow to be able to do that?
Yes, it varies depending on the country where the animal is coming from and where is it going. Here from Portugal to the countries of the European community that are not Ireland, Sweden, Malta or the United Kingdom or Finland in a different purpose. You just have to have the rabies injection done 3 weeks prior to the traveling time. You have to have identified with a microchip, and you have to have a pet passport with a health certificate done 10 days before you travel. The microchip purpose, it's because you have to prove that these papers belong to the animal that you are traveling with. Otherwise you could get a black cat and then use the same passport for several black cats. That's why you have to have a microchip. In what concerns the England, Sweden and Malta and Ireland, you have to do the rabies injection and the microchip at the same day, or the microchip can be done before. 1 month after, you have to take a blood sample to send to an official lab to test the amount of antibodies that the animal has developed. It has to be above 0.5 international units per milliliter, and the animal can only travel 6 months after the date of the collection of the blood. It has to do also a tick and tapeworm treatment that has to be done within 24 to 48 hours before you go in England. That usually it's done on the way through to the border in case the animal travels by land, or here in case they travel by plane. And the English authorities are very strict. There's no exception. We had a case of a cat that had done the test before. The microchip suddenly stopped working and they had to repeat everything again. Even though we removed surgically the microchip and we re-identified the animal, they still had to do the whole process through. And if you are English, you've come to Portugal and you have your animal here and you think, oh, I'm never going to come back, so I don't need to worry, my advice is you have to either continue to do the rabies injections yearly, as is law here in Portugal, so that you don't lose the validity of the blood test. Because it has happened to us that people come to Portugal, they think I'm never going to take my animal back, but then a relative gets sick or something happens here, you have to rush back and you don't have the things taken care of, and it happened. Either you have to pay for a kennel to sit your dog while he's on quarantine, or you have to do the quarantine in England, or you have to ask a neighbor to keep your animal during those 6 months, or you don't travel when you need it to. So my advice is it's always better to have everything taken care of if you eventually need to go to England than rushing in, because during this process you need 7 months to take care of everything, and that's a lot of time if you are in an emergency.
And is it expensive?
Yes.
To follow all these procedures?
Yes, the rabies injection and the microchip here in our clinic are around €65 both. Then the blood tests, it's €100, and the passport is €17.50, and then the tick and tapeworm treatment depends on how heavy it's the dog, but you can count on another maybe €20. So it's quite a lot of money. I think, in my opinion, that it has been very questioned why all of this and why doesn't England change the law. And I think this is all done to prevent people from traveling with animals within the European community, because rabies is a disease that, even though we don't have borders are open, there are animals coming from Africa and all over the world, they travel everywhere, and so suddenly you can have a rabies breakout, and it's a disease transmitted to human beings and it's fatal, and so the less animals travel, the less likely it is for any disease, rabies or others, to go in the country. There's another issue that has been starting now, that is with the global warming, diseases like leishmania and heartworm that don't exist at the moment in the UK. If the planet starts to be warmer, the mosquitoes will start to travel, to exist in the south of England first. And so they will exist before you notice they are bringing any problem, or before you diagnose an animal that has a mosquito-borne disease that has been infected with it within the UK territory. That will take a long time to diagnose, and so the less animals travel, the less animals carry the parasites that they have in their system, well, the slower it will be that outbreak. So it's not that has a scientific explanation. Rabies doesn't take 6 months to show, or once the animal has had a positive title means he's protected against the disease. So I think the 6 months, it's really to convince people not to rescue animals here and take them with them to the UK, because I'm sure if it was just 3 weeks, most of our stray dogs would be in England at this time.
And does the same apply to cats? It's exactly the same
Yeah, exactly
procedure?
the same procedure for cats.
Exactly the same. Okay.